On social media, propagandists and bloggers who support the Kremlin posted a video showing the Russian Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter flying with its tail ripped off. Initial reports from pro-Russian Telegram channels stated that a failed dumping of additional fuel tanks had resulted in the Ka-52's damage, but they changed their story later and said that the attack helicopter was hit by an air defense missile and came back to the airfield despite getting a lot of damage. At the same time, the military analysts observed that the helicopter was still armed with anti-tank missiles, and that several fuel tanks could be seen falling away from the Ka-52 right at the beginning of the video. In addition, the helicopter's damage prior to entering the combat zone and its location near the airfield near occupied Berdiansk are confirmed by the Black Sea coastline visible at the beginning. According to the open-source publication Oryx in the Netherlands, Russia's invasion of Ukraine resulted in the loss of 90 helicopters, 35 of which were Ka-52 Alligators. Since this count only includes losses that can be seen, it's possible that the actual number is higher. The Russian Defense Ministry reported on Sunday that Ukraine had lost 239 helicopters during the same time period. Oryx claims that Ukraine has lost 31 helicopters thus far. Ukraine's military said on Thursday that Russia had lost 5 times more helicopters in Ukraine than in the 2 wars Moscow fought in Chechnya after the Soviet Union fell, in the early stages of its long-awaited counteroffensive. Ukraine is continuing to seize territory in the south and east of the country. In its daily assessment, the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, a U.S. think tank, stated that Kyiv's fighters conducted counteroffensive operations on at least 4 sectors of the front line with Russia on Sunday. The think tank stated that they made limited territorial gains. Since several days ago, Western analysts have been reporting that Ukraine has been acquiring territory at frontline locations. However, the British Defense Ministry stated on Sunday that Moscow has engaged in relatively effective defensive operations in the south of the nation. There was an offensive in several directions in the south over the past week, Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar stated on Monday morning. In a Telegram post, Maliar stated that Ukraine had taken 8 settlements in the last 2 weeks. She included the village of Berdiansk, which is in the disputed Zaporizhzhia region in southern Ukraine, in her count. Ukraine's forces suffered enormous losses, but Kyiv's operations yielded results and seized the settlement, according to a regional official supported by Russia on Sunday. However, on Sunday, the Defense Ministry of Russia denied this, claiming that the attack on the settlement of Berdiansk was repulsed. In a Telegram post, it stated that more than a dozen tanks, armored vehicles, and personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine were destroyed. According to reports, an increase in the number of destroyed helicopters coincides with an increase in Russian personnel and equipment losses due to Ukraine's nascent counteroffensive. This started earlier this month with extensive probing attacks targeting southeastern Zaporizhzhia Oblast and southeastern Donetsk Oblast, particularly the area around the demolished city of Bakhmut. Kyiv will welcome any destroyed helicopters. It is under pressure to demonstrate its proficiency in using Western-provided weapons against Russian forces, particularly main battle tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. Early losses on the Ukrainian battlefield include German-made Leopard 2 tanks and Bradley armored vehicles supplied by the United States. It is believed that Russian attack helicopters hovering over the battlefield, specifically Ka-52 Alligator combat scout attack helicopters, were responsible for at least some of those losses. Over the course of 16 months of full-scale war, Kyiv has repeatedly pleaded with the West for assistance in strengthening its mobile short-range air defense systems, also known as HORAD. These aircraft are relatively unencumbered by harassing Ukrainian aircraft. Since the full-scale invasion began, Russia's Ka-52 fleet has been badly battered. Oryx reports that 35 aircraft have been destroyed, abandoned, or captured since February 2022. Before the war began, it is believed that around 100 Ka-52s were deployed by Moscow. However, it appears that the remaining rotary wing aircraft are playing a significant role in repelling Kyiv's counteroffensive. 20 new helicopters have been seen in recent weeks in satellite images taken from the Russian-occupied Berdiansk airport in the southeast of Ukraine. 5 Ka-52s, Heinz-style attack helicopters, and naval helicopters were among them. As Ukraine's troops advance further into Russia's multi-layered defensive lines, the helicopter issue may become more pressing. Kyiv's supply lines get longer with each step forward, allowing Moscow's forces to operate further inside occupied territory. The traditional strength of the Kremlin's armed forces, Russian electronic warfare, is working here to disrupt Ukrainian communications and weapons, and increase the threat posed by helicopters and other aircraft. The issue has been emphasized by Ukrainian officials in their battlefield updates. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar has reported extremely fierce battles, exacerbated by the enemy's aviation and artillery superiority. And President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged Russian air and artillery superiority last week.